Okay, hi. Today's video is tier ranking all the books I read in 2024. How much fun is that? I've never done this before. I'm a little nervous because I have 69, I have 69 books on this. I'm just gonna jump in. How exciting! Okay, so let's go up here. I have 6 categories. New all-time favorite, so good. So good is like 4 or 5 stars. Fun but forgettable, fine, 3 stars. Not for me. I understand why people would like it, but not for me. And I think objectively bad and a waste of paper. Hopefully there won't be very many of those. Here we go. Flawless by Elsie Silver. Never would I have thought that a cowboy romance would be a new all-time favorite, but nothing has lived up to this book. I read this first thing after Christmas, and I am obsessed with these two. I'm still obsessed with these two, and it really, I think this is the reason that I read so much romance this year. I've never been much of a romance person, but Flawless by Elsie Silver, it changed the trajectory of my reading, and for that, it has to be an all-time favorite. Mayfly by C.J. Lead. This follows a woman who goes on a killing spree. It's just crazy. It's a crazy ride. I gave this 5 stars. It was so good. So good, I might say. I have too many weird feelings about it for it to be an all-time favorite, but I think about this all the time, and I'm constantly comparing books to Mayfly. The next book is Once Upon a Broken Heart. Honestly, I had a lot of fun reading this. I gave this 4 stars. It's forgettable. It really is. I remember the characters, and that's it. I don't remember much of the plot at all. It had really beautiful aesthetics and a fun storytelling fairy tale adventure. It's forgettable. And I know people are obsessed with it, so I feel bad for saying that, but I don't feel like it was really anything special. Chain Gang All Stars. This was another 5-star for me. This is like a dystopian world, not too far dystopian world, where instead of putting people in prison, we make them fight to the death. And we put it on TV. It was an intriguing concept, and I really enjoyed the way we floated around to different storylines. Yeah, it was so good. Okay, Mad Honey by Jodi Picoult and Jennifer Finney Boylan. This was fine. There were parts of this that I really loved, and there were parts that I was like, I don't really feel like this has to even be in this book. I have complicated feelings about one of the reveals, and it feels a little weird to me to have it be a reveal, but at the same time, I really respect what the authors were doing with this. I found it to be a little long. I enjoyed reading it, and I think about it relatively often, so it was fine. I gave it 3 stars. Queen of Shadows. Queen of Shadows got 5 stars from me. Now here's the thing. I think Queen of Shadows was my favorite, but I'm having trouble keeping track of what happened in the in-between books. This is the 4th one, so I think Air of Fire. Wait. Is this the 4th one? Yeah, this is the 4th one. So the 3rd and 4th ones were my favorite books in the series. The character progression through those 2 books were so interesting. We were finding out more about our characters and why they are the way they are, and I loved it. So good. The next one is Heartless by Elsie Silver. Keep going on my cowboy romance train. This one is single dad trope. It was good. I'm not sold on them together the way I'm sold on Red and Summer from Flawless. Okay, My Dark Vanessa. This was so good. This was 4 stars for me. I thought this was really well done with what sensitive matter it was covering. This is about a student who is romantically pursued by her teacher. She never really came to terms with what terrible things happened to her. She always saw this as like this forbidden romance, and where in her head things are coming out about the professor. She's struggling to understand how this man maybe isn't who she thought he was, and how their romance maybe wasn't what she thought it was. 4 stars. So good. Okay, Ballad of Never After. We're gonna put that in so good because it was by far the best book in this series. I gave it 5 stars. I remember the romance happening and just being so on board. A Curse for True Love was fine. Every Heart a Doorway by Shawnee McGuire. This, I want to put it in all-time favorite, but I haven't picked up other books in this series. These are like a set of novellas following different children in this home where they're like taken out of their worlds and they're trying to handle being away from their universe. I'm not explaining this well. This is such a good story. The only reason I haven't picked up other ones is because I struggled to pick up novellas in the first place. I'm thinking about how I finished it. I was sitting right here at my desk and just bawling. So I feel like for that reason, it has to be a new all-time favorite. The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. It was good. I think objectively it was good. The pacing felt off to me, and I don't remember connecting with the characters very much. I don't think maybe James McBride's storytelling or writing is for me, maybe. I'm glad I read it. It was very popular for a little bit. I don't know what other people really thought about it, but you know what? I gave it 4 stars, but thinking back on it, I think that might have just been, I know this is supposed to be a good book. I'm trying to remember the second half, and I'm really struggling. I really don't know where to put it. We'll put it in fine. Book lovers. I want to be an Emily Henry girly so bad. I thought Book Lovers was going to be for me. It turned out not to be for me. There were parts that I really loved. I loved the moving from like New York City and spending time in the small town because I had recently moved from New York City to my hometown. So it was an adjustment for me, and being in her perspective as she's adjusting. Other than that, I wasn't on Nora's side. I did like Charlie, but Charlie was just, I don't know. I feel like normally Charlie would be my type in a book, but he just wasn't, something about him wasn't working. It wasn't for me. This romance wasn't for me. The Good Sister, Sally Hepworth. This, oh, but it was so good. I loved this book. I gave this 4 stars. This is a thriller following 2 sisters. Basically, one of the sisters can't have a baby, so the other sister decides to like have a baby for her, even though she never asked for that. I don't know. I loved it. I loved it so much. And I felt so close to the characters in here, which I think is something that I need to be a thing in thrillers rather than these super unlikable characters. I have trouble liking thrillers like that. It helped me understand my taste in thrillers better, and I want to definitely pick up more Sally Hepworth. Okay, the next book was Erik Larson's In the Garden of the Beasts. Love, Terror, and American Family in Hitler's Berlin. I gave this 3 stars. I like Erik Larson. I have read 2 other books from him. I've read, what's it called? Isn't it right there? Dead Wake. Dead Wake, I really enjoyed. That was about the Lusitania, and I read Devil in the White City, which I also really enjoyed. This one, I don't know what it was. I just struggled so hard to get through. It didn't feel as narrative as Erik Larson's other books. It felt more textbooky, more informational. I don't know. I just didn't like it as much, but I'm glad I read it, and I did learn a good amount about the situation and how slow these things can happen and how easy it is to pretend it's not happening. Okay, on that note. Oh, Monstrilio by Gerardo Samano Cordova. This was so good. I loved how this was structured. Multiple POVs, but they're all like separated into like fourths of the book. It's such a good story about grief and about family and a sweet little monster. It was so good. I highly recommend it. Babel R.F. Kuang. That's a new favorite of mine. I ate this up. Give me a fantasy with strong friendships, and I'll eat it out of your palm. So good. The magic system was beautiful. The atmosphere was gorgeous, and the commentary was important and beautiful, and I think about translation in a whole new way and as its own art form. I don't know how to talk about it and give it the praise it deserves, because there's so many facets to this book that are just so well done. Okay, Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. You know what? I gave this 4 stars, but the longer I get away from it, the more I'm like, this isn't really my thing. This isn't my jam. I had fun reading it, but I'm not a big humor book person, and this one was really funny. Maybe I'll put it in fine, because I did enjoy it, and I did enjoy the kids when I was reading it. Kind of like House of the Cerulean Sea. It kind of has similar vibes, and it was genuinely funny. The Silent Patient, by Alex Michaelides. How do you guys like this book? This was one of the worst thrillers I've ever read in my entire life, and I've read some bad thrillers. This is so crazily hyped. This is people's favorite book. I can't comprehend why. I'm not gonna be mean, but it was so hard to read because that man was the worst. Oh my god. I don't need to like characters in any other book. Give me a horror with a super unlikable narrator, and I'll love it. This man, and then the ending wasn't even worth it. Moving on. Alice Finney, Daisy Darker. This is more of a mystery. I liked it. It was fun. I don't remember it that well. It was fun. It's one of those And Then There Were None retellings that, obviously isn't as good as And Then There Were None, but it's fun to read, because you can't, capture And Then There Were None again. You can't capture reading that for the first time, so. The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones. This series did something to me. It did something to me. This is 5 stars. This is life-changing. I cried the whole way through reading this book. I adore this trilogy. I don't know how to talk about it. I really don't. It was just, it's life-changing. So we're just gonna move on before I get emotional. The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. I'm gonna put this in so good. This was a really good Carrie retelling, and I gave it 4 stars. I think it's difficult to do a retelling of something like Carrie, and Tiffany D. Jackson did a really incredible job of making it feel modern. It was YA. YA horror getting 4 stars from me is something to celebrate. The Bride Test. Helen Hong. I really like this series. I did like Kiss Quotient more. I don't remember the romance that well, but I remember liking it, and I remember really liking our heroine. I'm not autistic, so I don't want to say that they're really good representation. They've learned how to communicate with each other in such a beautiful way. The autism, it's not a hindrance, it's just something that they love about their partner, and I think that's so amazing to see in romance, and it gives me warm fuzzy feelings. Okay, Twisted Love. Guys, I didn't know what I was getting into, but there is no excuse for having your hero burst into song at a public event. I hated this. I hated it. Reading it made me nauseous. The secondhand embarrassment from this book is unlike anything I've ever experienced. I will not be picking up more from this author after this. I know I've heard that there are better ones. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I'm done with it. Iron Flame. Another stinker. Guys, this book was bad. It's rushed. And it makes me so upset. I liked Fourth Wing. I enjoyed it a lot. I had fun. It was a fun fantasy, and it had good ideas, and the talking dragons. It was so fun. They ruined it by rushing it. Half this book was freaking trash. It feels so bad for saying it, but do yourself a favor. Read Fourth Wing if you want to have a fun time, but stop there. I don't think I'm going to be reading the 3rd one unless it gets really good reviews after this. I think editing has gone downhill for these kind of books, unfortunately, that are overhyped. I mean, I don't even think Fourth Wing was overhyped. I really think it was super fun. But then just them pushing it through the editing process ruined it. I'm so upset about it because it could have been a super fun, super awesome series. Kingdom of the Wicked, not for me. It was fine when I was reading it. I read it on audio. I liked the audiobook. I think it was very well produced. It had cool sound effects and stuff. I'm not really interested in YA fantasy as much as I used to be, and it wasn't very good, in my opinion. I'm not planning on continuing. Not serious. Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini. So good. Yeah, it does stick with you. It's a very sad, heart-wrenching story. I think everyone should probably read it, or at least read something from this author. I don't really have much to say about it. I understand some people's critiques where some of the plot feels very inorganic. It feels very convenient. Overall, I think it was really good. Kim Ji-young, born 1982. I'm gonna put this in so good too. I gave this 4 stars. Honestly, I don't remember it that well. I don't know if I read it too fast because it's pretty short. You know what? I'm gonna put it in fun but forgettable. No, I'm not. I'm gonna put it in so good. Because it was really good. And I feel like people would benefit a lot from reading it. For some reason, I'm not remembering it. But this takes place in South Korea. It's following a woman, but she is kind of all women, in a way. Things happen to the main character, and then there'll be a footnote how it happened to somebody in real life, or a statistic, which I thought was a really unique concept for a novel, and I really enjoyed it. Heartstopper, Volume 1. It's not an all-time favorite, but it does give me warm, fuzzy feelings. I really liked it, and that's all I have to say. Powerless. Powerless, honestly, was fun, but I don't remember it that well. I know it's following Sloane and Jasper, and I think I just wanted it to be something that it's not. I wanted it to feel more like a sports romance than it does. I love them together. I just don't really remember it very well. Okay, Heartstopper Volume 2, oopsie, is also going in so good. Warm fuzzy feelings, you can't beat them. The Watchers is a waste of paper. Maybe I should say it's not for me. No, I think this one's objectively kind of bad. This is probably the most predictable thing I've read ever. At every point, I was like, I know exactly what's about to happen. The characters weren't interesting. I wasn't connected to any of them. It was obvious from the start what the twist was going to be to me. I didn't care about any of them dying or living or anything. It was an interesting premise. I'm still going to watch the movie, although it's M. Night Shyamalan. I haven't liked anything from M. Night Shyamalan since Split. So, moving on. 7 Days in June by Tia Williams was so good. This one is more of a hard-hitting romance. It's a second chance romance. I love the dual timeline that it has, and I love these characters. I'm just not completely sold on them being together. Okay, Tiny Pretty Things. I knew this probably wasn't going to be for me when I picked it up. I love ballet. I don't partake. I don't do any ballet at all. But every once in a while, it's all I care about. Oh my gosh, those shoe fitting videos, so fun. I read this because I was rewatching Dance Academy at the time. Great show, 10 out of 10. And this was fun, but it wasn't enough ballet for me. It's kind of dark in a way that I didn't want it to be, so. The Honeys. The Honeys is an all-time favorite. This book was so good. It has a gender fluid character who is trying to figure out what happened to his sister, and he goes to camp and he gets kind of taken in by the Honeys. If you took Bunny and mixed it with Midsummer, I think you'd get something like the Honeys. The audiobook for it was so good too. You should definitely pick it up if you haven't. It's YA horror. It's the best YA horror I've ever read. Okay, The Elementals, also a new all-time favorite. Michael McDowell is a master at writing horror and at writing ambiance. You are there, okay? Read this in the middle of summer. sit outside, sweat your butt off, and you are there. This follows a family who has these vacation homes in Alabama on the beach in like the Gulf. There's 3 houses. Middle house is like slowly getting taken over by a sand dune. I loved it. I can't wait to read more Michael McDowell. My face is like getting warm because the Honeys and then the Elementals right after, that was the peak in my reading this year. Okay, The Club by Ellery Lloyd. This was not for me. I don't think this was very interesting. I'm upset that this is the cover and then it took place in the winter. That might be my biggest issue with it. That might be my only issue with it. But it takes place in like these super celebrity exclusive clubs, and this new one is getting opened. There's a discovery and everybody is stuck on the island. So a fun premise. It just didn't work. Next one is The God of Endings by Jacqueline Holland. Listen, I gave this 4 stars, but it really is a 5-star. This is about a immortal vampire. It's one of those like artsy books that's not really, scary vampire. It's more like this is just a person and you see her go through her entire life and how she struggles with being immortal. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book. It's really stuck with me. Sherry Lapina, Not a Happy Family. This was fun, but forgettable. I don't know. There's enough reveals that, you can't really guess all of them, but some of them are kind of obvious. Either way, it's super fast read. It's just fun. Read it in like 2 days. It was just a good time. And when you have a thriller that's just a good time, you can't really complain about it, Happy Place, Emily Henry. This is the Emily Henry that worked for me. I loved this. 5 stars. I love these characters and their love story, and it's kind of a second chance romance. This couple has broken up, but they haven't told their friends yet, and they're going on one last vacation to this house in Maine before they sell it. The characters in this are so good. I love the supporting characters. Definitely my favorite Emily Henry that I've read so far. Okay, Empire's Thrones by Sarah J. Maas and Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. I'm putting both of those in. So good. I did do the tandem read, and I'm glad that I did because I don't think I would have enjoyed Tower of Dawn as much if I hadn't. Both were great lead-ups to a finale, and I thought they were really powerful books. I enjoyed them a lot. Chlorine by Jade Song is so good. I really liked this book. This follows a girl who swims on her high school team, and she's like really, really good. She has always had this obsession with mermaids, and then she just kind of thinks she is one. And maybe she is. This has some like crazy body horror. I ate it up. It was so good. Okay, I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. This was really, really good. This is about a boy who becomes a slasher, and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek. It has a lot of meta jokes about slasher movies. It's silly, it's fun, but it also has a lot of heart, and I really loved it. I gave it 4 stars. Okay. Green Lights, Matthew McConaughey. At the end of the day, I did like this, but I would not pick up books like this often. I read this on recommendation, and I'm glad that I read it. It's just not something that I gravitate towards when in my reads. This is a memoir from Matthew McConaughey. It was fun, but there was so much of it that I was like, okay, Matthew. Okay, A Certain Hunger. A Certain Hunger. I think I'm just gonna put it in so good. Because it was. I think objectively, it was really well written. I understand though why people don't like it. It's kind of hard to read. It's very pretentious. It can be pretty gory, kind of make your stomach turn. There's a reason for everything that's in this book. There's a good reason that it's in there, and I think it was extremely well written. The next book is Mary, Nat Cassidy. This is also gonna go in so good. Mary follows a woman. She is going through menopause and she's having some really weird symptoms. She's seeing things, she's hearing things. She goes to the doctor. The doctor's like, oh, you need to get more sleep. She's like, I can't sleep. Nobody's taking me seriously. I thought it was just like a really well done commentary on some of these themes, and it was a little slow, but like towards the end it picked up and it was like so fast and so good. 100 Years of Solitude. Also gonna put in So So Good. I know the name is not on here. This is by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and it's translated by Gregory Rabassa. This was kind of hard to get into once I was in it. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was so fascinating. It gave me an existential crisis at the end of it. It was one of those books that you close and you stare at a wall, not just for 10 minutes, but for 20. I highly recommend it. Maybe I should put it up. I only gave it 4 stars, and that's just because when I rated it, I was feeling like I had more of like a recency bias towards the ending. I was like, I just read the ending, and I was like, this feels like 5 stars. And then I'm like, well, I just read the ending, and that was by far the strongest part of the book. So can I really give it 5 stars based on that? And I can. I'm moving it up because I think about this all the time. It's not easy to read, but it's worth reading. Final Girls by Mira Grant. This is Shawnee McGuire's pen name, I think, or it might be vice versa. I can't remember. This was fine. It was a very short novella. It follows a reporter and a scientist, who the scientist has developed this therapy where you get put into a horror movie and you deal with your issues. Like if you have a complicated relationship with your sister or something, you go into this program and then you go through this traumatic experience with your sister, and then you grow closer because of it in real life. So the journalist agrees to go into a simulation. It doesn't go to plan. I think I would have enjoyed it more if it had just gone to plan and it was just an exploration of that. It was just an exploration of that, like, idea, but it was there's more of a plot that I wanted, I guess. So it was fine. It was good. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. It was fun, but it was pretty forgettable. This one's frustrating because I don't know that I've ever really read YA thrillers before, and it's hard for me as an adult to look at this and be like, this girl's in danger. I'm not comfortable with it. And she's making these decisions that put her in more danger. Okay, we're moving it for not for me. I probably would have liked it if I had read it in high school, but I'm not in high school, so there were parts that made me uncomfortable. The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. This is so, so, so good. I love this. This is like a literary mystery where you're following these different characters, you're switching point of views, and the overall mystery is that this girl went missing from a summer camp. All these different timelines and all these different plot lines are interweaving. I think it would have been an all-time favorite if one of the reveals wasn't what it was, because I don't know, didn't like it that much. Night of the Mannequins. I gave this 4 stars. I'm putting this in So So Good because it was objectively so good. Yeah, we'll put it in fun but forgettable because I don't remember it that well. This isn't what I thought it was going to be, but it was significantly more like Stephen Graham Jones's style than I thought it was going to be, and I enjoyed it. Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway. This is so good. I think I would like it more on a reread. I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon, but the way these plot lines came together was masterful and so exciting. The last 50 pages of this book were like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this, what's happening right now. It felt like watching a soap opera. It was totally worth the read. I had trouble getting into it because of the writing style, but I understand why she's who she is. 7 Year Slip. This wasn't for me. I don't really understand the hype around this book. I find both of the main characters to be very bland. I did like the summery and New York vibes of it, though. There's something about summer in New York and the heat. It's just so cozy. It made me think a lot about my old apartment and just the way the sun would come in through the windows and stuff like that. It had very beautiful aesthetics to it. But at the end, the romance wasn't it for me personally. Phantasma is not for me. I'm tempted to put that in 2 ways of paper, but I'm not going to. I do think that Phantasma is for some people. It's not for me. I don't know if I'm not a fantasy romance girly or if I just haven't found the fantasy romance that I want, but they all just kind of feel the same to me at the end of the day. It was fun for the most part, but the actual plot of it drove me insane. Do not give me trials if we're gonna be able to cheat our way through our trials, okay? It ruins the whole thing. I'm not rooting for her anymore. Salem's Lot is so, so good. It's so, so good. I'm tempted to put it in all-time favorite, but I don't think it is. It's just really well done, Americanized retelling of Dracula. You should read Dracula before you read this. I don't have much to say about it, other than Stephen King knows how to write a horror, at least he used to. All of his early books are like really up there for me. This was 5 stars. This was no different. Really glad that I finally read it. We Ride Upon Sticks was so, so good, but it's not an all-time favorite. I was hoping it would be. But this follows like a witchy field hockey team, and they kind of maybe use witchcraft to maybe win some games. You're getting this collective voice from them, but you're also getting the individual stories from the different girls on the team. It was very unique. Very unique. Oh my gosh. Incidents around the house. I'm not sure how people found this frightening. The first 30 pages were genuinely scary, and then after that, it was just flop. Repetitive, annoying, terrible decision making, terrible parenting. I hated it. I know a lot of people complain about the point of view being from the little girl. That doesn't bother me at all. I'm totally fine with that. Because of that point of view, the parents have to talk to her, or she has to overhear things that she shouldn't be hearing. I feel like that's really where things went wrong. Wasn't scary, except for the very beginning. Okay, The Strange Case of Jekyll and Hyde. Is it controversial if I put it in fine? Probably. This is an extremely subjective list. I already knew kind of the stories. Like, I don't regret reading it. Let's say that. Addicted to You. We'll put it in fun, but a little forgettable. Like, this isn't something that's gonna stick with me in 5 years, but it was super fun reading it. I did give it 4 stars. This follows a girl who is a sex addict, and her love interest is addicted to alcohol. They have a very codependent relationship, very toxic, but they kind of learn how to show each other love, grow as a couple, but also grow individually. I'm just really enjoying it. I'm on the 3rd book in the series. Kaikai. I'm tempted to put that in new all-time favorite, but it's not as memorable as I thought it was going to be when I was reading it. I felt so close to Kayakee when I was reading this. It is a very strong feminist retelling of this Hindu story. It was powerful. I'm excited to pick up more work from this author. Kingdom of Ash. Kingdom of Ash was a flop for me. I do not like the way that the series wrapped up. It was predictable. It was boring. I have a problem with every character getting linked up in some heterosexual relationship that isn't necessary. It's boring. There are only 2 couples that I care about in this series. At the end, I was losing interest in those because of how they were being written. I'm surprised that people love this ending, because I don't think it was strong. So I guess I'm saying not for me, because I'm clearly in the minority here. Ricochet! Also going in fun but forgettable. It's just a fun romance. It's the 2nd book in the Addicted series. More forgettable than the first one. I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing Lily kind of come into her own. Beartown, Frederick Bachman. So, so good. This is also translated by Neil Smith. I gave this 4 stars. It's not what I expected it to be, but I'm happy with what it is. It was a really impactful story, and I also loved reading in the wintertime. The Nightingale is not for me. Hot take. Listen, I really, really enjoyed The 4 Winds by Kristen Hanna, and I thought that was really well written. I felt like it had really good setting and description, imagery, and I learned a lot from it. This one, The Nightingale, is set during World War II. It is not as good. I didn't learn anything, really. That wasn't in the premise of the story. I didn't really love the characters very much. There was this weird romance that didn't need to be a thing. I kind of understand why it was, but also take it out, because it didn't work. It wasn't nearly as good as The 4 Winds, in my opinion. I'm reading The Women now from Kristen Hanna, and I'm enjoying that, but Nightingale was a flop for me. This was not her strongest work, and I'm surprised that people love it so much. Okay, Eileen. Eileen was fine. I didn't expect this to go in fine when I picked it up, but it was fine. I think my expectations for Otessa Moshfegh are skewed because people constantly describe her as weird. This wasn't that weird. I mean, it was, but there's nothing in it that was shocking. I guess I just expected it to be shocking because we're leading up to this reveal. We're leading up to this big thing. And then you kind of get let down by the big thing. Like, it's not that big. But Eileen as a character was great. And being in her head was crazy. She's the reason that I like the book, because Eileen, girl, she's crazy. I love it. Small Things Like These is a new all-time favorite. Oh my gosh. Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. It's a super, super short little novella set in Ireland during Christmas, and it follows this man who is a father and a husband, and he discovers this terrible thing is happening at the local convent, and then he just has to grapple with it, and he has to figure out what he's going to do about it, and he's learning that maybe his wife and the people in this community know that this is happening and are just ignoring it, and it's such an interesting exploration of that. I don't know, it just gave me a lot to think about, and I really needed a book like this leading up to Christmas. I really needed it. Reckless by Elsie Silver. This is the 4th book in the Chestnut Spring series. It was really good. It was fun to read. It follows Theo and Winter. Winter is Summer's sister. Theo is Rhett's mentee. They just have a super fun dynamic, and I really enjoyed watching them fall in love. Home Before Dark is not for me. What did I give that? I gave it 3 stars. I don't even know what my issue is with this. And it wasn't super predictable. It wasn't boring. I wanted to know what happened. But when I closed the book, I didn't feel anything. I found the main character annoying. I found her difficult to care about. And I think in thrillers, I just have to care about what happens to the character. I can't just be there for the ride. Does that make sense? 3 stars. It wasn't for me. I don't know that I'm gonna keep picking up Riley Sager. This was my 2nd book that I've read from him. The first one I read was The House Across the Lake, which I really liked. And I thought Home Before Dark was gonna be closer to that in the thriller aspect, but it wasn't really. With that, I'm done. I'm done with this list. What a list. Oh man. I'm glad that we have so many in the so good quality. So good tier. Because it's books that I really, really loved, but were, crazy amazing. These books up here, I think about these books constantly. Honestly, I should probably move this one down. We're gonna move it down. I think about these books all the time. They are so fantastically written. I don't have any bad things to say about them. I really don't. Yeah, I had some super fun reads, some super impactful reads, and some major flops. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It was so fun to talk about all these books, and I want to do this again next year, hopefully. This was it's a really fun way of looking at your reading year. So thank you. My Goodreads is linked in the description if you want to follow my reading for this year. And I'm hopefully going to be posting quarterly wrap-ups this year, so that's the plan. I'll have a video coming out soon, wrapping up my reading year for 2024 and finishing up my crochet book blanket that I've been working on. I will see you in the next video.